approach a VC to try to have a conversation, get some advice, talk to many VCs, and start to get to know them and understand who might be a good partner. Because at the end of the day, you're not just getting money, you're getting partnership. And it's important to find the right one. And along the way, if you do your due diligence, if you've done all the work that you need to do without raising money, if you have a good idea and it's innovative, you're going to find plenty of investors.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Triangle Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Fagioli, back here today with, of course, a familiar face, our Executive Director, Matt Fowler. How you doing, Matt?
Great, Matt. How are you today, man?
Fantastic. Guys, today, if you're listening in today, it's a little bit of a departure, a little bit of a unique conversation. And we have a special guest who brings a unique perspective to our conversations where, oftentimes we're talking about real estate and, down in the granular detail. This is a money side conversation. Matt, I'm going to let you introduce our guest and we'll dig right into it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So as Matt said, I'm Matt Fowler, the Executive Director of Triangle, as usual. And we have with us today, Lister Delgado from Chapel Hill. Lister, I'll let you tell us about Idea Fund Partners and who you are. We met at a PropTech CEO roundtable dinner that Triangle has. We'll talk about a little bit some more, but tell us where Lister comes from.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here with two Matts. So it's a double Matt day for me. Very exciting day for that reason. But my name is Lister Delgado, and I am the managing partner of a venture capital fund headquartered in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, called Idea Fund Partners. And Idea Fund Partners has been operating and investing for 16 plus years now. And we have been investing in North Carolina and nationally. And this latest iteration of our fund, we're focused in the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic. And we invest in technology. And generally speaking, early stage, we write checks and hope to invest with very bright and exceptional people trying to innovate. And PropTech is one of the areas that we like in particular. We invest in many areas, but how people live, how people work, and also how people learn are completely interconnected. And I think that a lot of the innovations that are happening are based in that area. And because of that, property tech sort of fits right in the middle. And this is why we're excited about the friendship that we've been building.
Yeah, thanks, Lister. Matt and was just saying he and I spend a lot of time with our heads down in this industry. But it was super fun to get to talk to you after we met at the PropTech dinners about the projects that you've been involved in. Before we get over to the kind of the real estate side of things I was interested in, tell us about, maybe you said 20 years, give us a portfolio company that you're, I don't know, particularly proud of or think is remarkable.
Oh, yeah. I can give you many. I think over our time, we've invested in, I don't even know, 60, 70 companies now. But
Wow.
But of course, I have to bring up Pendo because it's a flagship company in
I
North
thought you
Carolina.
might mention Pendo. Yeah.
I mean, I have to, right? It's a unicorn. I don't think it's the only unicorn in our midst, but it's definitely the one that is leading the charge towards becoming a unicorn, or already is a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
The company started 11 years ago, 10 years ago. And there were four founders looking to change the way a product manager did things at a technology company. Right around the time when marketing and marketing management and marketing software was just the rage, when Marketo and Eloqua and Pardot and all these companies were sort of coming out and becoming success stories. But nobody was paying attention to the product manager.
Mm-hmm.
And the right combination of market opportunity, incredible team, and incredible technology just was right in front of me. And we were lucky enough to be the only North Carolina-based investor to take a chance on these guys, which was not a huge chance because I think it was clear that they were going to be successful. But today they are now, last round 2 years ago, put the company at a $2.7 billion valuation. And I believe they have 1,500 employees throughout the country, offices in many cities.
Yeah, I mean,
big,
Dendo's
yeah, big,
ubiquitous, in that
big presence
space.
in downtown Raleigh.
Yeah.
It's exciting. That's one example, but there's others smaller than that one, but many other good stories too.
Sure, but that's maybe like that's a great analog to just kind of pick that up and talk about what we're trying to do. Like you met these guys when there was just a few of them, and
No,
now
four. It was four.
yeah, four of them, right? So, and they're up to the B number valuation, 2 billion. What we're trying to do at Triangle is um, is to be the maybe connective tissue, the catalyst that's going to go out there and beat the bushes a bit among prop tech people for new CEOs who are starting up new concepts. And if a lot of these guys, Matt has talked to them as a consultant, they'll say, well, where do I get data? I can't do anything without MLS data. And they call and say, what's the phone number I call to get the national feed? I'm like, well, that's really funny. That's really kind of a tell because it means you have no idea what you're doing. There's 522 feeds currently. And, that's a problem. There are solutions to it that would allow you to build once and deploy everywhere, mostly. There's certainly ways that you can approach that would be a lot easier than trying to do a one-off and publish it in Raleigh, and then somebody in Charlotte says they would like to have it, and you have to start over. If you're aware of the database architecture and the rules, it's a fairly regulated business, maybe increasingly regulated business. Uh, um, we can walk people through that. We can give them test or sandbox kind of data, and then while we're doing that, we can introduce them to Lister and to the VCs that we know through the NAR Reach program. And we met Tom and those guys from Riot from Charlottesville, and they've got a really interesting program. I don't know what the right match is, like which particular message Lister is going to be attracted to versus to one of the other guys. But what we're trying to do at Triangle is to just bring people in the room, have a meal, make introductions, and step back and see what happens. So I know on this podcast series, Matt has interviewed two of the guys from the PropTech space that have been part of our group, Matt Williamson and Frank from Ownify. And then we've got Mike Schneider coming up.
Oh yeah,
I think that's later this week or next week from Acre.
two of those are companies that we invested in prior. Two of those are CEOs of companies we backed.
Yeah,
Matt,
Matt
yeah,
and
Mike
and Frank and Mike. Yeah, so Mike, I met Mike.
He was at first.
He was the first, really.
It used to be called First Leads.
Mm-hmm.
The company was
I
First
met
Leads,
Mike when he was doing that. That was an interesting.
where we led their initial investments.
Interesting.
Wow, and that was a success story for sure.
Oh yeah,
exit to Remax, right?
that's right. Remax, yeah, moved to Colorado, and now he's back here with Acre. Yeah, and Matt Williamson was with Windsor Circle, the first company that he built prior to what he's doing now.
Yeah, with Plum co-ownership.
Plum, yeah.
Yeah, so this is maybe a good opportunity to talk about that kind of what that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can give you when you look at Mike, when you look at Matt, when you look at Todd Olson from Pendo, and you can go down the line to all of the companies that we've invested in, what you find is common is these are exceptional people. There are people who are trying to change the world. They're not just running a business. They're not just trying to make a buck. They're in it because they really feel that there is a problem that needs to be solved, and they feel that they have the right skills, experience, desire, commitment. They are just a tad crazy, and but they're relentless. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt, and
Yeah.
Mike. I mean, they're exceptional.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for is exceptional people. So that's one thing. You got to start with that. Even though we're idea fund partners,
Right.
we don't really invest in ideas. We invest in the people. The ideas are a necessary requirement, but it's the people that really make the difference. And then on the other side, they need to be innovative. That is the other ingredient that we look for. If there is no innovation, there's no ability to separate yourself from the competition. No, there's nothing that is completely unique, honestly. Like I don't find ideas that are truly, truly unique, because ideas tend to be built from other ideas,
Sure.
and they kind of come up from a background from like different people in different parts of the country end up coming up with the same idea right around the same time, because the basis for those ideas was the foundation.
Sure.
But people need to innovate in order to separate themselves. If you have those two components, that's what I'm looking for: exceptionalism in people, and innovation. And then of course, then the rest is just simply trying to find spaces or areas, or timing needs to be right in terms of, are we investing in these kinds of things, finding the right investor. Those two things. I mean, that's as simple as that.
Timing's so hard. I don't know how you work on that. What were you gonna say, Matt?
I was just going to ask, I'm curious, Lister, of all of the portfolio of companies that you've invested in, do you see them all pivot from the original idea? I mean, does anything ever get out the gate and look like it started out?
Almost
Speak
never.
to that.
Almost
Yeah,
never.
almost never.
I don't remember a situation, and I think this is why it's important to invest in people, not ideas, because ideas are going to change. The right investor is going to figure out how to pivot. I'll give you an example. Scott Wingo is the CEO of one of our portfolio companies, Spiffy. So he's washing cars, and he's the whole premise is bringing car washing to the office park. In the middle of COVID, there's absolutely nobody working in office parks.
Yeah.
You would think that his business is going to shut down completely and fail. Well, he figured out a way to pivot on that. He started disinfecting offices, so that then people could come in. He started bringing car washing to people's homes. I mean, he's gonna do really, really well this year. He did really well last year after COVID, so he's been able to recover. I'm not going to get into the specifics of exactly what he's doing on the business, but I just want to bring up the point that a great CEO, a great entrepreneur, has to, for sure, is going to find many points in time when they're going to have to pivot, have to change, and not be stuck with being on one path, because the market changes. The business space is usually very dynamic, and you have to react.
I think that's as a CEO who sold my company. I think that's how I got to be a CEO or an entrepreneur in the first place. Like, I was in some place that just wasn't really working, and I was like, well, this should really be done better. Let's go over here and let's start up a new thing to do that way. And it never occurred to me that was, extraordinary, or that there was some barrier being broken. It was just obvious.
Yeah.
So those guys, you're looking for the exceptional person. They have to be innovative. Certainly, this was one of the questions I'd written down to ask you, like, what, as somebody that's also has a mission here, you have to be careful about who you pick. There's a lot of really driven, creative people out there with ideas, and you've kind of focused on office next, or work next, and home next, as you were describing it to me. What I guess one of the themes that we've seen is fractional among the local guys. We just mentioned three of them: Frank, Matt, and Mike. What are the other? Well, I don't know. Before you move on from fractional, and I want to think about what else is out there, because there's three fractional people on our podcast in the last 2 months. Fractional is really interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
I think
you're right.
I think Mike's doing it differently than the Acre. I'm going to stop using their names. Acre's doing it differently than Plum Co-ownership is doing differently than Ownify.
Yeah.
And you know, they're kind of approaching the markets in different ways. They're using different vocabulary. I think Plum is clearly focused on the second home market.
Hmm.
But Mike is Mike's swinging for the fences here. He's trying
Sure.
to reinvent the whole thing.
Yeah.
And instead of staying in the securitized world, he's just with Fannie and Freddie and packaging these mortgages for sale, traditional retail. He's saying let's just skip all that, and we have funding straight from Wall Street, and we don't need to go through all of that mortgage stuff that you guys have to
Hmm.
deal with.
Hmm.
Um, that has pluses and minuses, to it, but it certainly is a lot. I mean, it's dramatically more agile because he can make the rules inside just a commercial relationship between that home
Yeah.
buyer um, and the platform. That could have some real legs, I think. Looking at all of them, I think Acre looks really interesting.
Oh, I completely agree. I think fractional ownership of different types of properties and different types of methods is for here to stay. The question is, can Mike and Matt figure out a way to basically be the ones that are the winners? I think it's going to be multiple winners, but I think what fractional represents is, I think, a disruption in how to do things. I have no question in my mind. There's no question in my mind that somebody's going to figure out exactly how to use fractional approaches to ownership. Um, you know, hopefully is these guys. And part of it has to do with the fact that um, the financial markets are evolving and changing. You mentioned this before to me, Matt. Uh, data. I mean, the data that we have access to is changing. How data? I mean, if you think about Mike's prior company, it's just such an incredible use of data with First to try to help brokers when to approach potential customers and realtors. Um, and so the financial markets changing and evolving, the availability of data, and then just really the big social problem of ownership and the fact that the structure as it is leaves a lot of people behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's one big problem that it, not every problem, as we were discussing before, not every problem can be fixed by government. And this may be one big problem where entrepreneurship can at least provide a big push forward to start to
Sure.
change the issue of home ownership to people who are being left behind because of the structural components of mortgages and lending and all of that and credit, all of that.
Well, I think the wealth gap is just bad and getting worse. We've talked about that a good bit. If you do a survey of people who bought a house, something like over half of them got help from a relative. So that presupposes that you have a relative that's got any money.
Yeah.
Uh, and if you don't, then that is another barrier to people on the bottom end of the income scale to be able to get off of the like rental treadmill and get into a place where you can own your house and build equity.
Mhm.
Like that's not even in that there's a segment of our population formerly marginalized who don't believe that's for them.
Exactly.
uh, and it's our mission through our initiatives last year and next year to change their minds. And it's really hard to do that when the affordability index is at an all-time low. So one of the things that we do is we reach out to um, uh, you know um, uh, what is it, the mother of invention, right? We have new creative ways to maybe solve this intractable long-term problem. We're not going to solve it with old solutions; they haven't worked
Yeah.
substantially. So I think there are governmental solutions. Fannie or FHA recently reduced the cost of going through the mortgage process for people at the bottom end of the income scale. I think we could definitely turn that up
Mhm.
and uh, make those fees a little more regressive. Um, that seems to make sense. We do it with our tax system. If housing is a human right, and I think we could make a strong argument that it is, then it should receive special treatment by the government in terms of fees. And you know, maybe it's like an Amtrak or something. We're not supposed to make money on it
Well,
if we
this is
want to be.
this is one of those rare situations where not only can you do good, but you can do well. Right.
Yeah,
I think that there's an opportunity to help a marginalized population and make money. I mean,
right, with the
I don't know.
fractional.
I
Yeah,
don't know anybody who would complain about that.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, we talked a good bit about a fractional lister. What else are you seeing in the home next space that's interesting to you out there?
Um, Data. I mean, anything that uses data, services. There's a lot of stuff that I'm how we so I don't know, maybe this is just my own personal problem, but managing your home
Mm.
is a big problem for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
sure.
Figuring out how to serve your home, how to fix it, maintain it, repair it, whatever. It's it's like you have to start from scratch all the time, unless you're
Mm,
really lucky and have really good relationships.
hmm.
I'm seeing a bunch of companies who are starting to think about property management, but for the homeowner, not just for
Right,
multi properties. I mean, that's
right.
interesting. Why not?
Hmm.
Like, why not provide somebody to provide a service in a holistic way? There are companies working in that space.
Yeah,
Uh,
the aging in place
oh,
phenomenon
that is
has.
going to push that. It's going to make it a necessity.
Mhm,
Even if you can sort of take care of everything in your home when you age, that's an impossibility.
sure.
Mhm.
Well, my mom's 82 and the gutters are full right now. Um,
And it's not
right.
only that, but like figuring out who's going to do that for you. I mean,
Hmm.
there's got to be a better way. So there's a lot around services. Um, we talked about the financial side of things. There's the other thing is about mobility, how we work, the intersection of where we live and how we work. It's a
Hmm.
very interesting thing because home is a place, but we don't want to be stuck to one place anymore. So the virtual nature of living in the combination of working and where we live and where we work and what is home and what is a vacation place and what is not. There's a lot of interesting things in that area. Um,
Hmm.
the world is our oyster. We don't want to be stuck. I mean, like there's all kinds of things going on with movement and the combination of work and place. There's all kinds of materials. I'm interested in materials for
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of innovation.
Let's talk a little bit about planted,
Yeah.
because that, I mean, that's kind of mind blowing. We're talking about these things that seem incremental. And you said that most of this work is incremental, that building on the work of somebody just behind you. But this seems like a green field new effort.
Yep. Um, yeah. But even if you think about it, that idea doesn't come out of the blue. That's what I mean about ideas. Ideas are always incremental, but there is something that motivated that idea, right? Like some predecessor.
Lister, can you backtrack a little bit and just tell everybody what a planted is
Sure,
so that yeah.
sure. So Planted is a team of SpaceX engineers and a little bit of a crazy environmentalist who had a podcast and who was very concerned about the environment, but interested in thinking and changing the way the materials are used for construction, specifically for home construction. So they wanted to build not only a new material but a new way of sourcing and providing the material that is more sustainable. So they tried to look for the fastest biomass that they could find because they knew that it needed to be biological and they need to grow in an efficient and fast way. So they ended up discovering this grass that grows very fast, very quickly, and produces probably the fastest biomass production in that we can find right now. So
So a pine tree is a like cellular matrix, and this grass is also a biological cellular matrix, and they just looked at all the possibilities out there and came up with this grass because it grows really fast, and what they're going to grow it on site as well as.
they could not
Yeah.
only not only so one step back, they were able to build a particle board. They came up with a system to use this as as an underlying material to build a particle board, which is a basic component of construction. But not only were they thinking about the particle board, but they're also thinking about modularizing. They had to modify the way that the board is constructed. So the equipment to build the board. And then they wanted to also, they kept in mind the supply chain costs of existing board construction and the shipment of wood to a mill and the production of the particle board. So they created a semi-modular approach. I mean, it's not all quite there yet, but you can envision a big site where there's going to be a big development where the raw material for that wood or for that particle board is grown at the site, and then the machine is right there on site in creating the particle boards, and you're using it right there. So even the supply chain costs are much lower. You don't have to ship things. You don't have to ship the wood to a mill and transport it, and you don't have to wait for the wood to grow.
They already do that with a an on-site concrete plant. They don't truck all that concrete
Same
all
concept.
the time.
Same concept, exactly. Now, I mean, of course, this is a little bit of a futuristic pipe dream, but it's really here. I mean, it's not that far away. And
things to start out that way, right?
No, of course.
They have to. What is it? I heard someone say, "Great ideas have lonely childhoods."
Yeah.
So
it's not only cost. Not only is it cost competitive, or even probably even lower eventually, but is environmentally friendly, is humid resistant. This is not like a board made out of bamboo that is really difficult to put a nail through it. And right now they're doing particle boards, but eventually you can imagine they can extend this to 2x4s and 4x4s and other materials. And one day, maybe all of our houses will be made out of grass instead of wood.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting, like the Three Little Pigs story. The ones are getting more and more strong as time goes by.
Yeah,
Hey,
I've got
Matt. I'd like to kind of go in a little different direction for a minute, if we can. The listeners to this podcast are the member agents and brokers of Triangle, of course, the industry that a lot of the innovative new ideas come from practitioners in the space. They see something, they go, "I want to solve this problem," and they launch something. So if someone's listening to this conversation and like wanted to have a conversation with you about capital for their idea, what does that conversation look like, and how do you evaluate it? I think we all look at the VC world as a little bit of this like black box, like I don't even know how that starts. So how do you evaluate ideas? I know you said you evaluate people, but can you speak to that whole space for a second?
So it's much less intimidating than maybe it sounds like. They come in all sizes, shapes, forms. We're simply just a professional group of investors with a thesis, a set of principles that we want to invest under. And there are all kinds of investors. VC tends to focus on technological innovations. The reason why is because we typically are forming these funds that have a 10-year life. So we need to find companies over a period of 3 to 5 years, and then we need to sell them, grow them, and then sell them within 10 years. So not everything fits that profile, right? So venture capital in general has to fit a particular profile. So keep in mind that most businesses will never get venture capital funding. Venture capital is only for the rare business that requires hyper growth, fast growth. It's expensive. Right? If you can avoid it, you don't want venture capital, because you basically are sharing your business for exchange of money with people, with strangers, really, like who are going to help you grow your business, but it's expensive. The best way to grow your business should be with a customer. But there are some businesses that no matter how good you are at keeping growing the business organically, if you don't get capital to grow it fast, the competition is going to come in and beat you, or sometimes you feel the need or the opportunity to grow fast. But we're limited in the sense that we have a life and we have to return capital to our investors. So we need to return the money, and the agreement is you're going to sell or you're going to exit. Hopefully, the exit can come in through an IPO one day, in which case you don't have to sell. You can just keep growing the business forever, and the capital can come back to the investors. You could sell to a private equity firm or some other business and continue to grow that way. But the reality is most businesses really exit within that time frame. So there's a limit to the kind of business, the particular type of business. It has to be innovative, has to be unique in the ability to sort of differentiate itself from other businesses. And again, we're less scary than you might think about talking to. We are approachable. We're there. What I would say what I would tell an entrepreneur is educate yourself. Every time that you're selling, it's like selling. Raising money is just like selling to a customer. You want to educate yourself about your customers first. You want to educate yourself about the investors, because in this case, what you're doing is selling yourself instead of selling your product to the VC, to the investor. You want to learn what they're doing, what they're interested, what is their thesis, what their what the timeline is for them. Where are they in the life of this fund? Am I in year 1 looking for businesses, or am I in year 10 just trying to sell the businesses I invested in the past? And then approach a VC to try to have a conversation, get some advice. Talk to many VCs and start to get to know them and understand who might be a good partner. Because at the end of the day, you're not just getting money, you're getting partnership. And it's important to find the right one. And along the way, if you do your due diligence, if you've done all the work that you need to do without raising money, if you have a good idea and it's innovative, you're going to find plenty of investors, especially after talking to several of them. The key is going to be who's the right partner, who is the right investor. But that will become apparent. So people like Mike, like Matt, that we were just talking about, they're great at this. They know how it works. And talk to another entrepreneur that has done it before. And but don't be afraid to reach out to a VC, but do your homework and try to find synergies between what I am investing and the kind of business that you're building.
I think one of the things that happens in real estate, and it's probably true in lots of businesses, is that one of the things that would drive you to investor money up front is the need for scale, at least regionally, if not nationally, to make the thing work.
Yep.
So, and along that line, I guess I'm curious too, what you look for in terms of scale, the size of the business, the size of the exit, the size of the investment. How do you think about those things?
Well, I mean, it is different to evaluate a business that is just getting started, that is just at the idea phase. And it's different to think about it when it's at the growth stage, after it has sort of demonstrated product market fit. There usually are 3 things, or maybe 4, that an investor is going to be looking for. The 3 things might be the team, number 1. Who is doing this with you? Usually, great businesses are not just built by one person. You need to have a good team that complements itself, that has all the different components and have the right expertise to grow it. You have a product or some innovation or some service that is what you're sort of the widget or the thing that you're selling. That has to be innovative. That has to be a little differentiated usually. And then you have to really understand your market. This is the third element. There has to be a tangible market opportunity. In some cases, you have a market that is disrupting existing, established big markets, and those are great. And in other cases, you're sort of inventing something that is creating a new market. Those can be tricky because the market size could be non-existent, but the market opportunity could be really, really huge. So those are the things that 3 things are the ones that I would focus on. And then I would think about momentum and the ability for you to sort of accelerate whatever momentum you have.
We're fitting really neatly in with that, Lister. I think this is a lot where you and I overlap. When I met George from HomeCloud, one of the things that I always ask all of them is like, tell me about the product so I can think about it overlaying onto my 16,000 users. And I want to know, is there a positive network effect among the users, or is there a negative network effect? And if there's a positive network effect, that it's more valuable the more people use it, then that I'm more interested in those because it might be something that would fit at the enterprise level, and we can bring it in and make everyone's lives easier. Like, for example, the common forms that we use. We have a common contract that only has some blanks in it that you have to fill in. So because it can't change, it's copyrighted. You only have to read the blanks. And that means that we can all trust the integrity of this document and speed everything up super fast by just focusing on the change bits, instead of having to, send the full agreement to legal every time, do the redlining, match and forth. Real estate would grind to a halt if we didn't have that sort of environment. So what we're trying to do is look for new things. There's an automated offer management system that allows us to streamline the presentation, acceptance, and management of offers. Right now, it's emails back and forth like crazy between people, or text, or who knows what, and it's a process dying for a database application with rules and and limits, business rules. So I think, I don't know, Matt, coming up first quarter, I doubt we get anything done in December. It's already the 6th. We have these meetups on a quarterly basis. Matt's been to one of them, where we pick someplace in the triangle. We talk about it for a few weeks ahead of time to make sure that all the CEOs know that this is coming. Frank flew in from San Francisco for one of them, because Raleigh was his launch market, but his startups in the Bay Area. So we're going to be having some more of those. We're really engaged with the business school at UNC. Keenan Flagler has a PhD candidate intern on our staff, doing kind of raw data analysis to see what we can learn. Consumer preference trends on our new consumer portal, just to highlight a little bit of the data that you're interested in. We're about to have to make some decisions about how we treat the shopping preferences of people online. If we have 60 million page views in the triangle next year, in some business models, the value of telling Home Depot and General Motors what's going on in that market for their advertising and their own marketing campaigns is maybe more valuable than the sum of what we make on these sites, with a billion attached to it if you string together a few of these cities. That's a model that it's got so much money behind it. I know people are going to do that, but transparency is in our mission statement, and I don't know how those line up. How you tell people there are no ads on the site, but it's because we're scraping everything you're doing so we can sell it to Sears. This is what I'm saying. When I hear some startup ideas, I think some have this network effect and a lot of money behind them, and really might, like forms, make the whole just job better for everyone. Other ideas might be financially viable, but not culturally acceptable in organized real estate as Matt and I know it. I think that Matt and I, because of our long history in the space, know the difference most of the time, and can guide people away from things that might look great to a VC and on paper and on the business plan and get launched and fall flat because the industry just won't accept it.
Yeah, and I think VCs sometimes they get in trouble when they try to think or pretend that they're smarter than they really are, and instead of relying on people. I mean, honestly, that's not every dollar that you get is smart dollar.
Yeah,
and I think the point is, entrepreneurs truly usually know, not always, but usually know best. And VCs sometimes just need to get out of the way and trust the exceptionalism in people, and that they will figure it out. Sometimes VCs tend to overanalyze and overdo. I mean, I'll tell you, I think I've learned a lot over my years, and my anti-portfolio is probably much stronger, much more successful than my real portfolio. The deals that I passed on that I should have invested, and I think that group of companies is getting smaller and smaller, right? So hopefully, one day I will completely tilt it. But yeah, the entrepreneurs are the real experts, and sometimes
think about that. My
get out of the way.
portfolio.
Yeah. Well, think
That's
about how
really
big it is.
that's really interesting to think about doing the math behind the deals that you didn't make. Thanks for sharing that.
Well, you don't want to suffer too much, but yeah, a little bit.
Well, I
of
was about to say I needed some more humility. Thanks a lot for that, Lister.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Lister and Matt. And I know that, we could probably geek out on this for some hours, but we've given our members a really cool taste of what this world looks like. And we'll make sure that that everyone, Lister, of course, included, is invited to the next PropTech meetup. And thanks for spending the time with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very
Matt, let me close out the call real quick by saying that last Wednesday we launched the new listing management platform. Sparkplatform.com is now available for data consumers. And if you're a PropTech CEO and you're looking for a place to test your new idea, we have a brand new sandbox and a brand new RESO Data Dictionary 2.0 API for the data geeks out there. We have a place for you to test your stuff, and if it works, RESO lets you build once and deploy 500 times across the country. So we want to be that place. I know Austin's got a great sandbox too, but we just want to add ours to the list if you're looking for a place to grow.
I'm glad you said that, Matt. I mean, I think now the Triangle is emerging. One of the incredibly positive things that's coming from all of this change that you're implementing is that ability to innovate in the Triangle. Might be the best place in 2024 to build something. Yeah,
we're just trying to get out of the way, right? So we can let these exceptional people go try something. If it works, then we've both done something. So I hope that happens, and I hope to see you, Lister, at our next thing.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you guys back here on the Triangle Real Estate Podcast.